Charles Barkley says that he ranks Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant ahead of LeBron James. He said LeBron has stacked his teams. Is Charles Barkley just hating, or is he just telling it like it is? Come on back. Let's do the damn thing.
Highway J-Rocc has come back to you too.
What is happening and with the millions and millions of J-Rocc fans from all over the world? That's right, baby. J-Rocc is here, and we have got to check out what Charles Barkley had to say about LeBron James. He said that he ranks Michael Jordan ahead of LeBron, including Kobe, because LeBron has stacked his team. And so we're going to dive a little deep into this. But first, before we do that, I know many of you are going to come on the Great Ones channel. Some of you may agree or disagree. J-Rocc don't care whether you agree or disagree with him or not. He's going to say what he's got to say, do what he's got to do. However, J-Rocc says this: if you come on the Great Ones page hurling insults, trying to act like you're in some 12th grade roasting sessions or you're back in middle school, J-Rocc says take your candy asses on out of here. J-Rocc got kids and he ain't got time to play with other people's children, okay? You want to do that, take that crap somewhere else. This is for the grown and sexy, the mature folks who can understand how to have a adult, mature debate, all right, without going into all that negativity and taking personal shots. J-Rocc ain't got time for that. Now, let's dive right into this. Everybody knows Charles Barkley and LeBron James ain't sending each other's Christmas cards. They're not inviting each other over for Thanksgiving dinner. They're not kissing cousins. Charles has had some things to say, including a couple years ago in the 2016-17 season. LeBron was in the locker room and he was talking to the reporters and he told them, "We are top heavy as blank." He said, "It's me, it's Kyrie, and it's Kevin Love," right? Insinuating that the rest of the crew are nothing more than a bunch of Rudy Poo candy asses, okay? Standing on the corner of Know Your Road Boulevard and Jabroni Drive, all right? And so after Charles Barkley heard that, he felt some type of way, and on Inside the NBA one night, he had this to say.
LeBron James' comments were blank.
Inappropriate, whiny, all the above. The Cleveland Cavaliers, they have given him everything he wanted. They have the highest payroll in NBA history. He wanted J.R. Smith last summer. They paid him. He wanted Shumpert last summer. They bought in Kyle Korver. He's the best player in the world. Does he want all the good players? He don't want to compete. He is an amazing player. But this notion, they're the defending champs. And for him to be trying to hold anything over Dan Gilbert's head, and I love all these wild punk-ass reporters on television who's afraid to call out LeBron. LeBron's a great player and a great guy. But this notion that he's got to have all the best players on his team. He's got Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love. He want everybody. He don't want to compete. He want to be the favorite all the time. It just pisses me off that a guy that great don't want to compete.
Oh, and it doesn't stop there. Because after Charles Barkley had something to say, Kenny the Jet Smith, two-time NBA champion, had this to say.
Everyone has his perspective. This is our perspective. But we can't understand your perspective when you are the best player in the world. We can't understand your perspective when you have two All-Stars. We just can't understand it. So it's like the guy who says, well, I got a Lamborghini, I got a Bentley and a Ferrari, but I need an everyday car, man, we can't understand that perspective, man. I'm sorry. You have three of the best cars in the world. So, and you need an everyday Chevy to get you around, a U-Haul, things around. We can't have sympathy for you. You could have that perspective, but we can give you no sympathy when you are LeBron James, the best player in the world, with all of those tools, top-heavy tools. We cannot have any sympathy. That's my understanding of it.
Now, many people would say Chuck is hating on LeBron. Here's what I think is happening, okay? Chuck is commenting on something that has been in question with LeBron ever since he made the decision, right? What is in question with LeBron James is not his skill set. I think anybody with one eye and half a brain can see from a skill set perspective, LeBron James is one of the greatest players to ever play the game. Somebody of that size that can dribble, pass, and shoot. And, with that type of speed and agility that we've never seen before. Okay? And so, from a skill set and athleticism position, LeBron James is undoubtedly one of the greatest to ever do the damn thing on the court. But what's being questioned about LeBron James isn't his skill set. It's his mindset. Right? I think that's an element when people tend to look at players. They just tend to look at their skill set and their accomplishments, which are incredibly huge factors. Right? However, when Bob Costas asked Charles Barkley in regards to not just what LeBron won, but how he won it, basically, and asked him this question.
Jordan or LeBron?
Jordan. LeBron is amazing. What he's done in the community is amazing. The reason I give Jordan the edge, and I'm never going to say it in fairness, I wouldn't even put LeBron past Kobe. Let's get that out the way. I want to be fair.
All right.
The reason I put Michael up there before those other guys, LeBron has stacked his teams. Let's be realistic. And
as Kevin Durant did and others have done.
And that's why.
And their legacy?
Yes.
Russell Westbrook now on his way. It's a trade, but on his way to the Lakers.
So I do. Like what Giannis and Dirk Nowitzki, guys like that, especially Giannis is the perfect example. They go through the grind, and to lose, which Michael did. Mm-hmm. When I was watching that documentary, I was like, damn, I forgot how bad the Pistons beat him up. But what he going through that struggle, that's what separates sports. Like winning all the time. Like we all want to win. But the struggle is part of your legacy. And what Giannis did this year, what Michael doing when the Pistons beat the hell out of him for 3 or 4 straight years, and he's like, no, I'm going to keep getting better, and I'm going to keep getting better. That's the difference in my opinion.
So basically what Chuck is saying is basically Jordan didn't take the easy route. He didn't take the out in the situation that he was given, but LeBron did. Now, many people's response to Charles, including Richard Jefferson, was to bring up teams like, Magic and Bird, the teams that they were drafted on. But with all due respect to Richard and to others, they weren't asking who would they choose between Magic Johnson and LeBron James. They wasn't asking who he would choose between Larry Bird and LeBron James. He said Michael Jordan. Okay? And the big or huge rebuttal that everybody tends to have as it pertains to LeBron James leaving Cleveland was simply centered around bad management and not having the talent around him to win a championship. Okay? Now, I will say this. The 2007 run to the finals that LeBron James made that year was phenomenal. One of the greatest runs I've ever seen. That game 5, if I'm not mistaken, against Detroit, where he dropped 29 of the last 30 points for the Cavaliers at the end of regulation and 2 overtimes. One of the greatest things I've ever seen, right? Because that wasn't a regular season, that was playoff. That was like on the road in a hostile environment as a young kid. What was he, 21? Doing that against NBA players where they know you're going to get the ball, but they can't stop you, right? And so, now remember that performance, okay? Remember that performance, okay? Keep that performance in mind as I go forward. But with that being said, that's usually the argument people tend to use. They didn't have the right management, the right players around him. Okay. And nobody was coming to Cleveland to play, right? I mean, it's Cleveland. Nobody wants to stay there, live there, even though players tend to live in other cities in the offseason anyway. But, that being said, Cleveland wasn't exactly a destination spot for some free agents and star players. Now, with that in mind, my question to anybody who says he wasn't drafted by a team that had star. Well, duh, because he's number 1 overall pick, right? I mean, who was the last number 1 overall pick that landed on a great team? Was it Magic? Was it Bird? Keep in mind, not even the Celtics. The Celtics, I don't even think they made the playoffs when they drafted Bird. Like that team was horrible. Same with the Lakers, right? Yeah, they had Kareem. Kareem in his prime was missing the playoffs, but he had already established himself as an all-time great player. Kareem was, all right, and management put pieces around Bird once he got there. But before Bird got there, that Celtics team sucked, and the Lakers weren't even making the playoffs, right? However, I get what everybody's saying. However, the question was, who was the all-time great player on the Bulls when Jordan got there? And what all-time great player was trying to break their neck to come and play with Michael Jordan in cold-ass Chicago? Now, some of you may have lived in Chicago. You may have been to Chicago. If so, you know what I say when I say cold-ass Chicago. And that Arctic blast come off that water, woo-wee, colder than a mother-in-law's kiss. That's how cold it is in Chicago. You literally see stuff frozen in Chicago. That's how cold it is, right? And so nobody was coming to save Michael Jordan. Nobody was wanting to come and play with MJ, right? They built that team through the draft and through trades. Now, yes, they got Scottie Pippen, but keep in mind, Scottie was not drafted by the Bulls. Scottie was drafted by the Supersonics and was traded to the Bulls on draft night. Okay? So Scottie Bull wasn't some sought after, rookie coming into the league. He wasn't some sought after free agent or sought after, rookie coming into the NBA. He had not contributed whatsoever to any professional basketball team, right? It was him linking up with Michael Jordan, where he got to be around MJ, compete against MJ, learn from MJ. All right, the word says iron sharpens iron. Scottie Pippen became sharpened by being with Michael Jordan. I don't think he would have been as good had he not played with MJ, okay? I think he would have been good, just not as good, okay? Because he learned Mike, the fundamentals, the basics, the work ethic, the mentality. Because you got to remember, even when they were playing the Pistons, one of the knocks on Pippen, and you saw it in the documentary The Last Dance, they said Pippen was soft. They said you can get to Pippen. And in Game 7, he had the migraine headache and against the Pistons, and we all saw what happened there. So it wasn't like Michael Jordan had this great franchise he was going to. That team had won nothing. All right? The best players on the team when Jordan got there were Orlando Woolridge and I can't remember the other guy, but those two guys were caught up in the league's drug policies and drug issues going on. So Jordan came in as a rookie and basically took over. All right? And so it wasn't like Jordan went to a great team. Jordan didn't have great teammates that were there waiting for him. They built that team through the draft. They didn't have no sought after, great draft picks or no great players that they traded or drafted. These guys just developed and got better. That's all it was. That's literally what happened. They were not all-stars. They were not all NBA players. All right? They were just role players who got better. That's it. That's all that was. So why couldn't the same happen for LeBron in Cleveland? I mean, keep in mind, he had guys who had been contributing to an NBA team, right, who had been all-stars. Mo Williams became an all-star. It was after LeBron left Cleveland. Ilgauskas, the 2 years prior to LeBron getting there, was an all-star. So I'm just trying to figure out exactly the narrative that, hey, they couldn't draft nobody and nobody wanted to come play with Mike. Oh, well, the Bulls didn't draft nobody and wanted to play with Mike either. The guys just on the Bulls got better, and the guys on the Cavs didn't. That's Jordan's fault? The fact of the matter is that Jordan had a mindset that LeBron just did not have, right? Jordan was psychotically competitive, right? I was watching earlier today about a Washington Bullet before they became the Wizards. Can't remember the guy's name. Alfonso Smith, I think. It was one night in Chicago where, you know, Jordan had an okay game, and I think that's his name, Alfonso Smith, something like that. Dropped like a career high, right? And then the next night, Jordan came out and dropped 47 on him, you know, with 36 in the first half, because he sat most of the rest of the game because the game was already over with. But with that being said, Michael just had a mentality, right, to where he was willing to take on challenges. Michael had this undying, unwavering confidence in himself and his abilities to where he believed he could adapt and overcome and beat anybody. Like Jordan literally believed they were going to win every single game when they stepped on the floor, right? Jordan was relentless. He didn't back down from any challenge, right? And so I understand people's thinking about LeBron in Cleveland. I understand it. I just don't agree with it, right? Because LeBron did something that even Jordan didn't do his first 4 years. LeBron got a team to the finals. So it wasn't like he didn't have the skill set, right? Now, granted, he got swept by the Spurs. The Spurs were just a better team, right? And at that point, LeBron's game wasn't as refined as it would eventually become, okay? With that being said, though, LeBron has stacked his team. Just keep in mind, right? A lot of folks say he left Cleveland because he didn't have the resources behind him, management and teammate-wise. Okay, all right. Riddle me this. When he got, because I said this, I said LeBron didn't leave Cleveland mainly because of he didn't have enough help. I think LeBron left Cleveland because, more so than anything, I think it had more to do with what he didn't have up here, more so than what he didn't have around him. All right, I just think he didn't have the right mindset in Cleveland. Right, he didn't have that psychotic will to win. Right, you saw flashes here and there, but it wasn't consistent. Right, and so for everybody who was saying LeBron left Cleveland because of this, okay, well, what happened when he got help? He got Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh. He had a management upstairs featuring Pat Riley and Mickey Arison. All right, they had shown that they was going to make the right moves, put the right pieces around them to where they could compete for an NBA championship. What happened? In the 2011 finals, when he had help, what happened? Didn't have his mind right. Now, don't sit here and try to tell me that J.J. Barea and freaking Jason Kidd, Jason Terry were going to stop LeBron James. Like, are you kidding me? I told you to remember the performance he had against Detroit, right? Remember that performance. Because that performance showed what LeBron was capable of. Right? LeBron was cutthroat in that final. I mean, in that game against Detroit. He had an incredible series. He showed them in that series, the Detroit Pistons, what he's capable of. Even with this quote unquote no help. Now he's got two other All-Stars, former Finals MVP and Dwayne Wade, NBA champion. Chris Bosh, perennial All-Star. He had the pieces around him, right? He had it. He just didn't have it up here, right? He didn't have that psychotic will to win, right? Now can't say it all was LeBron because D Wade could have played better, right? Bosh could have played better, but I'm sorry, man. Jason Terry averaged more points in that finals than LeBron James. Jason Terry in that series averaged more points than LeBron James. That was shocking. Now look, if LeBron had gone out there and averaged like a 30-point triple-double, and they just lost, you're like, man, you just got to shake their hand. But LeBron, man, I don't know. Skip said it best. The chosen one became the frozen one. Dude just froze. It was almost like his first commercial LeBron shot when he came into the NBA. That Nike commercial. Him in Sacramento.
LeBron James making his much-awaited NBA debut. Jerry, boy, you talk about pressure. Is he going to be able to handle it? Can he handle it? We just don't know. LeBron takes the ball for the first time, guarded by Bibby. LeBron, 18 years of age, surveying the floor. Jerry, what is going on?
I don't know.
Oh, this is good.
You talk about not being able to handle the pressure.
You're a joke! You ain't on that thing!
I have never seen anything like this before.
Come on, young fella.
That's funny.
That's almost like what it was like. Like he literally just froze. I mean, 8 points over 4 straight fourth quarters. What? And so, but you got to keep in mind, LeBron was getting a lot of praise. A lot of praise. Right? Before he even won a title. And that was one of the things that I think many Hall of Famers, old school players resented about. And I can't necessarily say it was LeBron, because he wasn't the one out here, praising himself. It was more media driven, right? And I think there was this narrative out there that a lot of folks just had an issue with, and they were trying to like, yeah, he's great, but he has to win. But then somewhere along the line, stats became as important, if not more important, than actually winning. Then you have people trying to talk about Nick Wright, who talked about, he came out with the question, tell me what Michael Jordan is better in basketball than LeBron James without saying 6 championships. Implying that winning is not the most important thing. Basically saying that you can be the greatest ever or the best basketball player and not win. Like, dude, Michael Jordan wouldn't be viewed as the GOAT if he had all those individual accomplishments with no titles. What are you talking about without saying 6 championships? What are you talking about? It sounds like you're trying to lower the bar, which I thought was an insult to LeBron. Like, you don't need to say that. Right? Oh, but now look that LeBron has got the rings. Oh, now they want to hype up the accomplishments. Because I used to hear, well, it's not who's the more accomplished player, it's who's the better player. Now that LeBron has some more accomplishments on his belt, well, he's the first player to accomplish this, first player to win Finals MVP with 3 different teams, first player to come back from. Now you're bringing up the accomplishments. When at first it didn't matter. See what I'm saying? Look, everybody talks about the fact that LeBron left Cleveland because he didn't have the help and the management. But people forget, Cleveland wasn't the only team he left. He left Miami that had better players and an organization. Now, granted, Chris Bosh had to be, he had to retire because he was dealing with those blood clots. Let me say this, those are no joke. Okay, I lost somebody very important to me because of blood clots. Hey, don't play with the blood clots. Ever. Okay? Ever. Get those taken care of. I don't care where they are. I don't care if they're in your pinky finger or your pinky toe. Get it taken care of. Those are no joke. Now, but with that being said, it wasn't as though the Heat just fell off the map when LeBron left. They were still a playoff team. D-Wade was still there. He was still balling. He got his knees right. and they made a couple of good playoff runs. I just think LeBron looked at the landscape and said, damn, here I am again. No help. What you talking about, no help? All right? He had help. The organization, LeBron just didn't want to be part of no rebuild. He wanted to compete for championships, right? He wanted to catch Michael Jordan with titles. He wanted to catch Kareem in scoring, right? I mean, ain't nothing wrong with that. But to me, he took shortcuts that he didn't have to take. But I don't think he had the mindset in order to take on the challenges that were needed. That psychotic will to win that says, oh, we can do this. We can make this happen. Right? And so he left Cleveland, leaves Miami, goes back to Cleveland. Right? He didn't want a young player in Andrew Wiggins. He didn't want no rookie. So they traded him away and brought in Kevin Love. Right? And they won. Now, let me say this. That big three in Miami should have three-peated. They should have at least 3 out of 4. That Dallas series, man, no. That should have been 3 out of 4. And I'm convinced, this is just my personal opinion, that if Miami had won 3 straight, LeBron wouldn't have left. I think he would have stayed in Miami. I could be wrong, but I think he would have stayed in Miami. Goes back to Cleveland, trades away the first pick of the draft, brings in Kevin Love. They win a title in 2016. Okay? What happens 2 years later? LeBron leaves again. Right? He leaves again. And yeah, I understand he went to the Lakers, but come on, man. LeBron was putting things in motions to get Anthony Davis. Let's just stop. They had talked about that the year LeBron got there. Now, I do think had LeBron not gotten hurt, the Lakers probably would have made a little noise in the Western Conference. Finals, no, but they'd have made some noise, right? That team with LeBron was was a good, 4 to 5 seed in the West, and so yeah, that was a decent team, but LeBron got hurt and tried to activate playoff mode. Body just wouldn't let him go. So they bring in Anthony Davis. They win the title. What was it, last season rather, right? But Charles is right. LeBron has stacked his team, right? When it doesn't appear like the odds are stacked somewhat in his favor, maybe not completely, but somewhat in his favor, and LeBron has an opportunity to win, he's not going to stay there. He signed short deals. Just keep in mind, because a lot of people said that, LeBron left Cleveland in response to what happened with Boston. No. Because back in 2006, the year before Boston even put that team together, LeBron turned down, I think it was a 5-year extension, to sign a 3-year extension, right? Because the initial plan was supposed to be Carmelo Anthony, Dwayne Wade, and LeBron James teaming up. Melo took the 5 years, okay? He took the 5 years. That threw a monkey wrench into the plan. So instead of just leaving that spot open for when Melo was free, they like, well, let's get Chris Bosh, bring him in here, right? Now, yeah, people talked about, well, the salary cap was about to change, and they want to make sure that they were available to take advantage of that. Well, if it was just about the salary cap, if it was about the money, he would have stayed in Cleveland, and because he would have got way more money in Cleveland, and he damn sure wouldn't have taken no pay cut to go to Miami if it was about the money. So don't come at me where it was about the CBA and the salary cap. No. If it was about money, he'd have stayed in Cleveland. They could have paid him more money, and he wouldn't have taken no pay cut to go to Miami. So it ain't got nothing to do with the money, right? Melo talked about that on First Take. What was it, last year before last? LeBron is great, but I think Charles is saying, he's basically paraphrasing. Let me paraphrase what I think Charles is saying. LeBron, great player, not a great competitor. All right, he's a competitor, It's not to say LeBron James doesn't compete, but he's not a great competitor, right? Like, he doesn't have another gear from a competitive nature that he'll shift into when the other teams shift into their gear, right? They'll shift into, okay, we competitors too. Like Kobe or Jordan, they would just go to another level of competitiveness. LeBron will get here and they're like, all right, I'm done. Now let me try to go get some more pieces to battle y'all, you know. And it was frustrating to me because I was rooting for LeBron. I wanted LeBron to win in Cleveland, right? I just think he took shortcuts. And for those of you saying he didn't take no shortcuts, okay, well, answer this question. What do you think would have been more challenging, a more difficult way to win a title? Keep in mind, I'm not saying it's easy to win a championship no matter where, right? It's not. But there are paths that are easier than others. So which one would have been more difficult to win a title? Staying in Cleveland or going to Miami? Which one would have been a tougher way to win a title? Now, if you say it would have been tougher in Cleveland, then you just basically made my point. He took a shortcut to get to his titles. Now, if you say it would have been more difficult in Miami, well, then we can't use the he ain't have no help excuse in Cleveland, which you then further confirm my point. Great player, not a great competitor. All-time great, not the greatest. Okay? I don't look at players just for what they win. I look at how they win it. Right? The way Dirk Nowitzki won it. Right? The way Steph won it. The way Giannis won it. And don't come to me with, you know, this player was hurt. All right? Injuries happen. All right? Injuries are part of the game. I wish we could not have injuries, but injuries are part of the game. Plenty of players throughout NBA history have won titles. Michael Jordan's first title came as a result because Byron Scott and Worthy were not 100% in that finals in '91. Because you saw what happened in Game 1. So it's not like they're the first ones to have that happen to. Injuries have happened a lot. Hell, the 8-seeded Knicks probably would have won the championship in '99 had Patrick Ewing not gotten hurt. But who won it anyway? The Spurs. So injuries can happen. That's just part of the game. We'll never know who would have won had both teams been healthy. We can assume, but we'll never know. But now, what say you? Do you agree that, you know, LeBron has always tried to give himself a competitive advantage by stacking his teams as opposed to doing it the old-fashioned way? Or do you think, you know, folks just hating on LeBron, they just got to give him his respect because he's earned it? What say you? Post your comments down below and let J-Rocc know what you thought of his reaction to this video. No rhyme intended on that line. If you enjoyed the great one's reaction, hit that like button, subscribe, and share. And be sure that you hit that bell so you can be notified when it is time to electrify. Thank you for joining J-Rocc. Until next time. Mamba, Gigi, and Wakanda forever. If you smell what J-Rocc is cooking.